Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today's Thursday, November 8th, 2018. A lot to do today. Basketball, hockey, college with the two college sports, bowl projections, picks. You can bank on it, and a lot more to get into. Some other news I want to pass along as we go along through the podcast. Let's start with the NBA. Some interesting results last night that I want to get to. The Thunder defeat the Cavs 95-86. That's their sixth win in a row. They do it without Russell Westbrook. They go to 6-4. Cleveland drops to 1-10. Dennis Schroeder had 28. Paul George had 18 and 7 boards. Jeremy Grant had 12 points and 8 boards. Colin Sexton had 15. J.R. Smith had 13. Rodney Hood had 11. Ante Zizic off the bench had 10 and 9. Jordan Clarkson off the bench had 11, 9, and 8. The Pistons defeated the Magic 103-96. The Pistons avoid the dreaded trap as they go to 5-5. Orlando drops to 4-7. Big game for Andre Drummond, 23 points and 9 boards. Blake Griffin had 20. Reggie Jackson had 15. Stanley Johnson had 13 and 6 boards off the bench. Langston Galloway had 12 with 6 boards off the bench. Aaron Gordon had 15 and 10 and 6. That's a nice game. Evan Fournier had 27. DJ Augustine had 16 with 7 assists. Nick Vucevic had 14 and 9. Terrence Ross off the bench had 15. The Knicks defeated the Hawks 112-107 as they avoid a trap. They were favored in this game by 2 points. They get the win in the cover late as they go to 4-8. Atlanta drops to 3-8. Tim Hardaway Jr. had 34. Frank Ntilikina had 14. Noah Vonleh had 11 and 13. Enes Kanter had 17 and 11. Emmanuel Mudiay had 11 off the bench. Kanter came off the bench as well. Alonzo Trier had 16 off the bench. Kent Bazemore had 16. Amari Spellman had 18 and 10. Trae Young had 15, 8 assists and 5 boards. Taurean Prince off the bench had 16. The Heat defeated the Spurs 95-88. Good win for Miami. They go to 5-5. San Antonio drops to 6-4. Hassan Whiteside looked like the player that he was from a few years ago in this game. 29 points and 20 boards. Justice Winslow had 16. Wayne Ellington had 20. Josh Richardson had 14, 5 and 5. LaMarcus Aldridge only had 6, but had 16 boards, my bad. DeMar DeRozan, 18 points, 14 boards, and 8 assists. Bryn Forbes had 12. Patty Mills had 20 off the bench. And Davis Bertans had 19 off the bench. The 76ers defeat the Pacers 100-94. An impressive win for Philadelphia on national television as they go to 7-5. Indiana drops to 7-5. I believe I took the Pacers on yesterday's podcast. I was wrong. Joel Embiid was phenomenal. 20 points. 10 boards. Ben Simmons had 16 with 10 boards and 8 assists. Dario Saric had 18 and 7 boards. Robert Covington had 13. JJ Redick off the bench had 10. Landry Shamet off the bench had 12. Victor Oladipo kept Indiana in it. He had 36 points, 6 boards, 7 assists. Boban Bogdanovic had 13. Domantas Sabonis off the bench, another double-double with 16 points and 11 boards. Second straight double-double on national TV off the bench for Domantas Sabonis. The Grizzlies defeated the Nuggets 89-87. Nuggets got caught in the trap, looking ahead a little bit as Memphis goes to 6-4. Denver drops to 9-2. Marc Gasol, 20 points and 12 boards. Jaren Jackson Jr. had 20 with 7 boards. Kyle Anderson had 14. Gary Harris had 20. Jamal Murray had 15 points with 7 assists. Trey Lyles off the bench had 16 and 9 boards. Miles Plumlee off the bench had 10 with 9 boards. The Pelicans defeated the Bulls 107-98 as the Pelicans get a much-needed win to go to 5-6. Chicago drops to 3-9. Anthony Davis had a big game, 32 points and 15 boards with 7 assists. Wesley Johnson got the start at small forward. He had 12. Drew Holiday had 17 points, 10 boards, and was an assist shy of a triple-double. Julius Randle, 12 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. Darius Miller had 11 off the bench. The Jazz defeated the Mavericks 117-102. A nice win for Utah to get off the schneid. They're 5-6. Dallas is 3-8. Donovan Mitchell came back. 23 points, 5 boards, 7 assists. Ricky Rubio, 10 points, 12 assists with 5 boards. Rudy Gobert, 17 points, 10 boards. Derek Favors had 13 and 6. Jay Crowder had 14 and 6 off the bench. Alec Burks had 18 off the bench. Luka Doncic had 24 with 6 boards. Harrison Barnes had 14. DeAndre Jordan had an 11-12. Dennis Smith Jr. had 10. Wesley Matthews had 13. J.J. Brea and Jalen Brunson each had 11 off the bench. The Raptors defeated the Kings 114-105. A good win for Toronto, as Toronto goes to 11-1. Sacramento drops to 6-5. Kawhi Leonard's back with a double-double. He had 25 points and 11 boards. Kyle Lowry had 16 with 8 assists. Pascal Siakam had 21. Serge Ibaka had 14 with 14 boards. OJ Anunoby and Jonas Valanciunas each had 11 off the bench. Willie Cauley-Stein had 24 points and 8 boards. De'Aaron Fox had 20. Buddy Hield had 24. Marvin Bagley off the bench had 13. The Lakers defeated the Timberwolves 114-110. A much-needed win for the Los Angeles Lakers. I believe I took the Lakers on the podcast yesterday. I'm sure I did, because that certainly would have been my pick. And they go to 5-6. Minnesota drops to 4-8. LeBron James, phenomenal, 24 points, 10 rebounds and 9 assists. Kyle Kuzma had 21. Brandon Ingram had 20. JaVale McGee had 16. Mike Breen and Mark Jackson are making their argument that JaVale McGee's their favorite for most improved player for early on in the year. He has to be in the conversation, but I think it should go to Zach LaVine of the Bulls. Tim Hardaway Jr. of the Knicks is in the conversation, as well as Karis LeVert of the Nets. But if you're talking about key contributors on contenders, then McGee has to be in the conversation. Josh Hart had 21 off the bench. Taj Gibson had 16 and 11. Andrew Wiggins had 19. Derrick Rose had 31. Karl Anthony Towns had 13 and 9. Jimmy Butler had 24, 5 and 5. Only 4 games tonight. 8 o'clock TNT, Rockets Thunder. This is a nice one from Oklahoma City. The Rockets are 4-point favorites. Both of these teams are coming in hot. I think each team combined has won 9 in a row. Somebody's going to lose tonight, and the team that I think is going to lose tonight is... I was going to say the Houston Rockets, but I forgot Russell Westbrook is out, so I'm going to go with the Rockets to win. So Oklahoma City is going to get their first loss in a while as James Harden and Chris Paul step up and carry the Rockets to a win. James Harden back in OKC, you know he always is going to have a chip on his shoulder whenever he goes back there. So give me the Rockets, but I don't feel that strongly about it, even though Russell Westbrook is not playing. 9 o'clock, you have the Celtics and the Suns. Possible trap game for Boston as they have Utah looming tomorrow night on national television. 10 o'clock, you have the Clippers and the Trailblazers. That's a nice one. And on TNT at 10:30, I think is the best game of the night. It would have been Rockets Thunder if Russell Westbrook was healthy, but this is the best game of the night. Bucks Warriors. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo against Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant. This should be a phenomenal game on TNT. I believe Marv Albert will be on the call for this one with Chris Webber. I'm going to take the Warriors to win, but I won't be shocked if this is a game in which Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant have to make big shots within the final 5 minutes to put the game away. So give me the Warriors over Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. Hockey. There's only a few games on the slate last night. The Capitals defeated the Penguins 2-1. Good win for Washington. First time all year they've won back-to-back games. 7-4-3 on the year. Pittsburgh drops to 6-5-3. Stars of the game, the number 1 star, 41 saves on 42 shots, Braden Holtby. Number 2 star of the game with a goal, TJ Oshie. John Carlson was your number 3 star with 2 assists. The Predators defeated the Avalanche 4-1. A nice win on national TV. I correctly predicted the winners of these games as well. Nashville goes to 12-3. Colorado drops to 7-5-3. Number one star of the game with the hat trick, Colton Sissons. Who had Colton Sissons having a hat trick in this one? The number two star with 3 assists, Nick Bonino. The number 3 star of the game with the lone goal for the Avalanche, scored by Matt Calvert. The Ducks defeated the Flames 3-2 in a nice win for Anaheim. They get themselves right a little bit. They're 7-7-3. Calgary drops to 9-6-1. Number one star of the game with the goal, Ryan Getzlaf. The number 2 star of the game with an assist, Josh Manson. And the number 3 star of the game with an assist, Ricard Raquel. Bigger slate tonight, 7 o'clock. You have the Canucks and the Bruins. Oilers, Panthers. Coyotes, Flyers. 7:30, Sabres, Canadiens. Battle of overachieving teams right there. Although the Sabres, you can make a case, are properly achieving with the talent they acquired this summer. Golden Knights, Senators. You have an overachiever hosting an underachiever there. Islanders, Lightning. An overachiever against the best team in the East. 8:30, the Hurricanes and the Blackhawks. Two teams that got off the hot starts that cooled off. The Blackhawks, as we know, fired Joel Quenneville, so this is their first game without him. I want to see how they respond with their new intern head coach. Sharks Stars is a nice one from Dallas. And at 10:30, you have the Wild at the Kings. I'm going to do the power rankings now for the NBA, and then I'll go to NHL. I'm going to go from 30 to 1 as I do each and every week. Number 30 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're the worst team in the league so far. There's nothing else much to say. 29 is the Phoenix Suns. They're the worst team in the West. Although I think there's a chance they win tonight against the Celtics, who I think could be looking ahead to the Gordon Hayward return game just a little bit. Number 28 is the Washington Wizards, who have underwhelmed so far this year. They had that big win over the Knicks at home in the game they absolutely had to have, and then they laid an egg in Dallas. Number 27 is the Dallas Mavericks, who had that dreadful loss to the Knicks on that Friday night, and then they got the big win over the Wizards at home to bounce back. 26 is the Atlanta Hawks. They were in that game against the Knicks last night, had the lead at halftime, but the Knicks pulled away late and hit big shots down the stretch. Speaking of the Knicks, they're 25. This is probably going to be the only time they're out of the bottom 5 this year. They have 4 wins. David Fizdale has done a great job. The only game they really laid an egg in this year was at Miami on October 24th. That was the Wednesday before Halloween. That was in the second week of the year. But they've been in every single game because they've either had the lead or been tied in the fourth quarter in every game with the exception of the Miami game. So that's a stat that's contributed to the coach of the Knicks, that's Dave Fizdale, that's having them play really hard each and every night for the most part. 24 is the Chicago Bulls. I had them ahead of the Knicks because they beat the Knicks on Monday night. Number 23 is the Orlando Magic. They've knocked off the couple contenders this year so far. 22 is the Minnesota Timberwolves. This team's just a mess with Jimmy Butler wanting to be traded. 21 is the Sacramento Kings. They've overachieved at the beginning of the year, but they're starting to show its true colors over the last 2 games. Number 20 is the Brooklyn Nets. They got an important win at Phoenix. They get themselves within a game of 500. Number 19 is the Detroit Pistons, who've fallen off a little bit, even though they got a nice win, or a much-needed win at Orlando. 18 is New Orleans Pelicans. They've fallen off a little bit too, but that's because Anthony Davis was hurt. They got a much-needed win last night against the Bulls. 17 is the Los Angeles Lakers. I think this team's only going to get better. They got a big win last night against the Timberwolves at home on national TV. Tyson Chandler's going to prove to be a fantastic in-season pickup for them as their backup center. He was playing in crunch time for them in his first game as a Laker. Had a couple big offensive rebound tip-outs to save possessions for the Lakers. Number 16 is the Miami Heat. They got a big win over the Spurs last night, but they've been a little Jekyll and Hyde. 15 is the Charlotte Hornets. They've been up and down too. 14 is the Clippers. They've had some nice wins so far this year. 13 is the Utah Jazz. They're starting to get right a little bit. Number 12 is the Memphis Grizzlies. They got a nice win over Denver at home last night. 11 is the Indiana Pacers. That was a disappointing loss. I have to be honest. They were favored in that game by 3, and then they lose to Philly, who hadn't won a road game yet this year. But the Pacers should still be good and should still be a playoff team in the East. 10 is the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, they just lost to Miami, but they've had some other nice performances in there. Maybe I should have flip-flopped Indiana and San Antonio because the Pacers beat San Antonio and San Antonio. Maybe it's just the bad taste out of my mouth from the Pacers losing at home to Philly. Meanwhile, the Spurs weren't favored to win that game in Miami last night. 9 is, speaking of the Philadelphia 76ers, they're number 9. Big win last night. Number 8's the Houston Rockets. This is a team that's getting right. They're winners, I believe, of 3 in a row. Have a great chance to win 4 in a row tonight in Oklahoma City. Number 7's the Boston Celtics. They've been a little up and down, too. They're on the West Coast right now. Number 6 is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've been red hot of late, despite losing Russell Westbrook. I expect them to lose tonight, though, as I mentioned before. Number 5's the Milwaukee Bucks. Big game for them tonight. This is probably the biggest regular season game of Giannis Antetokounmpo's career. And this is a big litmus test for the Bucks to prove themselves, whether they're good. Not good, but I should say great or not. Number 4 is the Portland Trailblazers. They really have put together some nice wins. They beat the Bucks at home. They've just been a machine at home. They beat somebody else recently too. Oh, it was Indiana in Indiana. But that was last week. But a disappointing loss Saturday night at home against the Lakers. But let's be honest, LeBron James carried the Lakers that night, so no shame in losing to LeBron. But the Blazers deserve this ranking. Number 3 is the Denver Nuggets. They had a bit of a trap game yesterday in Memphis, but they should be okay going forward. 2 is the Raptors. They're just phenomenal. They kicked butt in LA without Kawhi Leonard. They kicked butt in Utah without Kawhi Leonard. They get Kawhi back, and then they win in Sacramento. This is going to be a fun team to watch all season long. Assuming Kawhi doesn't miss that much more time, he has to be in the conversation for the MVP award. And number 1's the Golden State Warriors. What else is there to say? Big game for them tonight against the Bucks. Hockey power rankings. Number 31 is the Florida Panthers. They've been a bit of an underachiever this year, as well as number 30, the New Jersey Devils, who got off to a good start but has fallen off of late. Number 29 is the Detroit Red Wings. They picked off a couple teams such as the Devils recently. Number 28 is the Ottawa Senators. They're another team that picked off the Devils recently, but they've had the turmoil with the Uber situation, which was ugly. 27 is the Carolina Hurricanes. They've fallen off after a hot start. 26 is the Buffalo Sabres. They had a couple let-ups of late. They had the big win over Ottawa in which they scored 9 goals, and then they had a bit of a letdown in New York against the Rangers. 25 is the Chicago Blackhawks. They fired Joel Quenneville. I think they realized that hot start was a fluke. 24 is the Arizona Coyotes. They were hot, but they've cooled off a little bit lately. 23 is the New York Rangers. First time out of the bottom 5 this year. They're winners of 4 in a row. They knocked off some good hockey teams on this little winning streak they're on. They beat San Jose and San Jose. They beat Anaheim and Anaheim. Both of those were shootouts, but they're still wins. And then they took care of business against Buffalo, in which Buffalo's on the second of a back-to-back, and then they came from behind against Montreal, and that was the second night of a back-to-back for Montreal as well. So David Quinn deserves a lot of credit for getting the Rangers back to 500. They have a nice little litmus test to prove that whether this is a fluke or for real Friday night as they take on the rebuilding Detroit Red Wings. Number 22 is Los Angeles Kings. They fired their head coach, John Stevens, recently. They're starting to play a little bit better under their new intern coach. Number 21 is the Philadelphia Flyers. They've been a little up and down of late. 20 is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Same with them. Very up and down. The whole Metro Division's been up and down. 19 is the St. Louis Blues. 18, the Vegas Golden Knights. 2 underachievers from the West. I think will both eventually get right. An overachiever from the Metro Division. Number 17, the New York Islanders. They've had some nice performances. They did lose in the shootout to Montreal the other day, though. Speaking of Montreal, they're 16. That was a very disappointing loss against the Rangers after coming from behind and beating the Islanders the previous night. Number 15 is the Anaheim Ducks. That was a nice win over Calgary, and now they're getting back on the right track. 14 is the Avalanche. Disappointing loss. I didn't think they'd win that game, but I thought they at least would play well in that game. 13 is the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're starting to play a little bit better of late. Got some big wins on the West Coast. 12 is the Vancouver Canucks. Big East Coast trip for them coming up. 11 is the Edmonton Oilers. They're playing better since the slow start. 10 is the Boston Bruins. They have a nice little test against the surprising Canucks tonight at home. 9 is the Washington Capitals. They just won back-to-back games for the first time all year. 8 is the Dallas Stars. They've been playing very well lately on both ends. Number 7 is the Calgary Flames. Disappointing loss last night, but I think they're going to be okay. 6 is the Winnipeg Jets. They've been pretty solid. They split with the Panthers in that whatchamacall out in Europe. Number 5 is the Toronto Maple Leafs. They've been playing very well. They had that nice win in Pittsburgh recently. 4 is the Minnesota Wild. They've been playing very, very, very well. Number 3 is the San Jose Sharks, who been playing pretty well too, although they've had a couple of rough spots in the homestand. They lost to the Rangers. They lost to somebody else too. I think it might have actually been Columbus, now that I think about it. 2's the Tampa Bay Lightning, and 1's the Predators. Enough said about those top 2 teams. Those are clearly the best 2 teams in the league right now. I'm going to go over yesterday's college basketball results real quick before I get into the college football bowl projections. Not as many games as there were on Tuesday night. Ohio State defeats Cincinnati 64-56. Dayton defeats North Florida 78-70. Bucknell defeats St. Bonaventure 88-85 in overtime, so Bonnie loses a bye game. William & Mary defeats High Point 79-69. St. Peter's defeats Lafayette 93-86 in overtime. Stetson defeats Johnson, Florida 116-66. FAU defeats Florida Tech 98-52. FIU defeats Weber International 110-84. Ohio defeats Wilberforce 97-61. St. Francis Brooklyn defeats Medgar Evers 92-42. Georgia Southern defeats Carver 139-51. Marshall defeats Eastern Kentucky 105-77. Wright State defeats Western Carolina 96-73. Howard defeats Washington Adventurist 115-91. DePaul defeats Bethune-Cookman 80-58. Kennesaw State defeats Oglethorpe 68-57. A&M Corpus Christi defeats Howard Payne 81-34. Bradley defeats Wisconsin Parkside 74-58. South Dakota defeats York 83-58. St. Edwards defeats UTSA 77-76. That is just a terrible loss for the Roadrunners. Jesus, it's not even a Division I school that went into your arena and beat you. My goodness. That's a terrible loss. That's awful. Number 20, TCU defeats Cal State Bakersfield 66-61. Arizona defeats Houston Baptist 90-60. Colorado State defeats Colorado Christian 100-66. Texas A&M defeats Savannah State 98-83. Pepperdine defeats Cal State Dominican Hills 100-66. St. Mary's defeats McNeese 87-65. Cal Poly defeats Menlo 82-75. San Jose State defeats Life Pacific 89-72. Tonight's slate, a little better, some intrigue. You have Notre Dame hosting Chicago State, Nicholls at Louisville, Moorhead State at UConn, so that's Dan Hurley's debut as the UConn coach. Siena at George Washington. Both of these teams are 0-1. Let's see if George Washington drops another bye game or not. Southeastern University at Florida Gulf Coast. Maine, Fort Kentucky against Liberty. St. Andrews against UNC Asheville. Hiwassee against East Tennessee State. Earlham at Fort Wayne. Mid-Atlantic Christian at Norfolk State. New York Canton against Cornell. Southeast Oklahoma State at Little Rock. Southwest Assembly of God, I should say, at Stephen F. Austin. Evansville at Illinois. So that is the first game for Illinois this year. Let's see if they avoid a bye loss. I'm sure they won't. Or they will. They will avoid it. They won't fall in the trap. That's what I mean to say there. UMKC at Iowa. So this is the first game for Iowa this year. Northwestern hosts New Orleans. So that's another Big Ten debut for a team in the Big Ten. Northwestern State at SMU. This is SMU's first game this year. Alabama State at South Dakota State. Buena Vista at Drake. Southwestern at Sam Houston State. Hendrix at Central Arkansas. Maine at Utah. And Puget Sound at Seattle. Now I'm going to do my bowl projections before I do my bowl projections, I'm going to quickly go through last night's results. 2 games were played. Miami of Ohio upsets Ohio 30-28, a nice win for the Redhawks as they go to 4-6 and Ohio drops to 6-4. Northern Illinois defeats Toledo 38-15. Northern goes to 7-3. Toledo drops to 5-5. Now I'm going to do my bowl projections for week number 11. There's some changes that I made due to games that I'm leaning towards picking for this week and among some other things. My college football playoff, 1-seeded Alabama against 4-seed Michigan Wolverines in the Cotton Bowl. Orange Bowl, number 2 Clemson against number 3 Notre Dame. The rest of the New Year's Six, the Peach Bowl, LSU against NC State. Fiesta Bowl, UCF against Oklahoma. Rose Bowl, Washington State against Northwestern. Jesus, 7-5 Northwestern in the Rose Bowl is just weird. And that's what I think happens, because Northwestern's going to finish 7-2 in that conference, and then they'll lose to Michigan in the Big Ten title game. Michigan goes to the playoff, and then Pat Fitzgerald's team goes to the Rose Bowl. That's ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And Sugar Bowl, West Virginia against Georgia. Other bowl games, the New Mexico Bowl, Southern Miss at Nevada. Cure Bowl, Tulane at Troy. Las Vegas Bowl, Arizona State, Boise State. Camellia Bowl, Northern Illinois, Appalachian State. New Orleans Bowl, Coastal Carolina, North Texas. Boca Raton Bowl, Middle Tennessee, Memphis. Crispilla Bowl, Houston, Virginia. Frisco Bowl, South Florida, Louisiana Tech. Bahamas Bowl, Ohio and FIU. Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Eastern Michigan, Utah State. Birmingham Bowl, SMU, Tennessee. Armed Forces Bowl, Army, Cincinnati. Dollar General Bowl, Buffalo, Georgia Southern. Hawaii Bowl, Marshall, Hawaii. First Responder Bowl, UAB, Indiana. Quick Lane Bowl, Georgia Tech, Utah. Cheez-It Bowl, Oklahoma State, USC. Independence Bowl, Virginia Tech, Auburn. Pinstripe Bowl, Syracuse, Iowa. Texas Bowl, Baylor, South Carolina. Music City Bowl, Texas A&M, Wisconsin. Camping World Bowl, Iowa State, Boston College. Alamo Bowl, Texas, Oregon. Belk Bowl, Pitt, Missouri. Arizona Bowl. Louisiana Monroe, San Diego State. Military Bowl, Temple, Duke. Hyundai Sun Bowl, Fresno State, Stanford. San Francisco Bowl, Penn State, Arizona. Liberty Bowl, Texas Tech, Vanderbilt. Holiday Bowl, Purdue, Washington. Gator Bowl, Mississippi State, Miami. Outback Bowl, Florida, Ohio State. Citrus Bowl, Kentucky, Michigan State. Couple quick things before I get to my picks for college football and the NFL tonight. Sam Darnold is missing Week 10 with, I believe it's a foot injury. That is a big loss for the Jets. I think the Jets know that they're not going anywhere this year. So this is what I think is pretty much a tanking situation, putting in Josh McCown. It's a foot strain that he's missing this week. So Josh McCown gets the start against the Bills, and the Jets are not a lock for this week at all. Not suggesting I'm going to pick Buffalo. I might. I might not. Baseball trade happened yesterday. Mike Zunino was sent from the Seattle Mariners to the Tampa Bay Rays, along with Guillermo Heredia for Malik Smith, minor league outfielder Jake Fraley, and minor league lefty Michael Plasmeyer goes to Tampa from Seattle in the trade. Unpopular opinion, but I like the deal for Tampa Bay. A lot of people think that Seattle made out the better team in the deal, but Zunino is a 20-homer guy from the catcher position, and the Rays needed an upgrade at catcher because that was a liability for them the last few years. And they get a guy that, it's not an all-star, but is serviceable at that position. Malik Smith's a nice player, but I think it was just one of those overachievers. To me, he's just a good pinch runner / defensive outfield replacement guy. I don't think he's a good hitter whatsoever, but there's things that he can do well. But I think this was an overpay by the Mariners a little bit. And the Mariners, by the way, this is the start of a rebuild, sort of. Literally everybody's available except for Marco Gonzalez, Edwin Diaz, and Mitch Haniger. So Kyle Seager can be had. James Paxton can be had. Robinson Cano can be had. Nelson Cruz is leaving in free agency anyway. That's what that kind of signals to me, this Mariners rebuild thing. D. Gordon's available. Felix Hernandez is available. Jesus, it's weird saying it, but I don't think they'll trade Felix, but should be interesting to see how this Mariners reboot kind of turns out. And now I'm going to do my picks. Let's start with tonight in college. You have an ACC battle between number 14 NC State hosting Wake Forest. Interesting game. The Wolfpack are favored in the game by 19.5, the over-under 68. I think the Wolfpack win, but my play here, this is crazy that I'm doing this. I might regret it by the end of the night, but I'm going to take the under 68 because I don't see either team getting 40. I think this is like a 35-17 type of win for NC State, and that puts it under. And the big Thursday night game, a great Thursday night game tonight. Great one. Probably the best one on paper this year so far, and that is the Carolina Panthers at the Pittsburgh Steelers, 8:20 on Fox. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews, Christina Pink, all will be there. The Panthers. I'm thinking the Ravens because that's who Pittsburgh played last week. The Panthers are coming off a divisional home win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Steelers are coming off a big divisional road win in Baltimore against the Ravens. Again, this is the best Thursday night matchup of the year so far. And I think there will be a lot of offense in this game from both sides. I like Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers in their home building. They win their 5th straight game. Give me Pittsburgh 34, Carolina 27. The over-under is 51.5. Pittsburgh's favored by 3.5. I honestly feel better about the over than I do with the 3.5 because I think there's a chance that the Steelers win and Carolina backdoors them late. Or the other scenario is Pittsburgh wins on a game-winning field goal. So give me over 51 as the play here for the podcast. Now I'm going to do my You Can Bank On It segment. I've been doing this since last Thursday. Of the 7 times I've done this, I've hit 2. of the 7, which isn't all that bad because I've been going a little crazy with the parlays, and that's what it is. And yet again, I'm a winner. So make that 3 for 7 because I hit yesterday. Pelicans, Jazz, Raptors, and soccer. I went with Valencia, Real Madrid, Man City, and Bayern Munich. I bet $1 to win $286 with the payout of $386. So I'm going to do it on FanDuel again. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit more tricky here. I'm going to bet a little bigger. I'm going to go with $1.86. I'm going to take UConn basketball. I'm going to take Illinois in college basketball. In college football, I'm going to take NC State. In the NBA, I was going to put the Rockets on there, but I don't trust them in a parlay yet. I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Golden State Warriors. And I want to throw the Steelers in there too, but I just don't have the guts to do it. So, 6 teams with near 2-1 odds. It's plus 215, and I'm going to bet $1.86 to win $4.01 with the payout of $5.87. So, again, you can bank on it, play of the day, going for 50% for November. UConn in college basketball. Illinois in college basketball. College football, NC State. And then 3 NBA teams in here. The Boston Celtics, the Portland Trail Blazers, and the Golden State Warriors. And by the way, I said this a few days ago, the Warriors are shoo-ins for these parlays, especially with games in their home building. So, that's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything that goes on in the world of sports, from football, the basketball, the hockey, any other baseball news that comes down. I will talk about it as well. And obviously, I'm going to do the rest of my picks for college football and the NFL. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.